Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk to you guys about Extreme Alliance Battle Combat Supervillain Day. Now this day is really important for two crucial reasons. For one, there is a very short list of available combat supervillain characters that you can use for this game mode. The list is growing with a few key characters being updated, but as you guys can see, the list is very short even with all of the available characters on your roster. The second reason why the Combat Supervillain Day is important, and it's important for you to invest in if you want a consistently high score, is because you can actually play this day twice. Because Alliance Battle resets about 10 hours after the round 7 reset day, you can play it once before the reset and once right after the reset if you play twice within a 24-hour time period on that last day, or rather the first day. So for that reason, you can actually double dip on this game mode, so it's very important to develop at least one or two key characters for this game mode in order to do well. Now, if you guys are not familiar, Carnage is the absolute #1 best pick for this day, bar none. There is no one, as of yet, who can even come close to the level of scores that you can achieve with a Carnage team. However, if you do not have Carnage or you cannot get Carnage, then you do have to develop another character such as Nebula. She's probably your next best choice right now. I don't have any testing or any results yet with like a new upgraded Red Hulk or Hulk, but I have seen people get, you know, respectable scores above 50,000 with Nebula, although it takes a tremendous amount of skill. So you can invest in that if you don't have Carnage. But if you can get Carnage in any time frame, I would recommend that you do that because he is super essential and he's basically best in slot bar none for this day. The ideal team up would probably be with Hulk because you're going to get the bonus with Red Hulk that gives all attack and attack speed. However, if you don't have Hulk with the uniform, because you specifically need this World War Hulk uniform, then you do have to go with something like Crossbones for that physical damage leadership. All the other leaderships are not going to cut it. Alternatively, for a team up, you can go with Venom, but keep in mind that Red Hulk does give attack speed instead of max HP, which is very useful unless you already have a lot of attack speed. Then it might actually be detrimental to Carnage. But this is the rotation that I go with. This is the team that I go with. So let's check out Carnage's setup and how I've geared the character, and then we'll see how he performs in the game mode itself. Now, for Combat Supervillain Extreme Alliance Battle Day, if you do not have Carnage, then you're going to need to go with someone like Nebula. I honestly haven't tried Ulick. I honestly haven't tried the new Hulks since they got their tier 2 and 4-star passive rework, but I do know that members of my alliance and other people in the game have had some success, limited success, with Nebula. More likely than not, you're going to need to tier 2 her as well, so it's a pretty heavy investment if you don't have Carnage alone, but Carnage also needs his tier 2, so kind of weigh those against each other. You're not going to be able to hit 100,000 with Nebula alone, I don't think. I've never seen it before, but you will be able to get above 50,000 if you gear her properly. May or may not have to take her to tier 2 specifically to get to 50,000, but you basically just want to go with the regular gear upgrades for Nebula and then prioritize defense penetration once your cooldown duration is at 36%. And then of course you want to go with a lightning damage plus damage proc obelisk. So this obelisk that I have here is a perfect example. You just want one that's ideally 5 or 6 stars so that the increased lightning damage is a bigger number and the increased damage proc is a bigger number. If you could get something like lightning damage, defense penetration, damage proc, that would be fantastic. And basically what you're going to do with Nebula, I'm not going to show gameplay because I'm honestly horrible with her, but you're just going to prioritize shooting star, which is her full iframe skill, and then sneak in some of her other attacks when you have the opportunity to do so. But you just want to abuse as much as possible the shooting star iframe so that you don't take damage, you don't get hit by the meteors to reduce your score and reduce the multiplier on the score overall, and you can clear out the mobs pretty quickly with shooting star if you have enough lightning damage stacked for Nebula. But it's going to be a lot more difficult than it is for Carnage. Of course, as well for Nebula, you want to go with an offensive set, whichever one you roll first: Overdrive, Hawkeye, Power of Angry Hulk, and then build the rest of your kit out from there to prioritize first skill cooldown and then ignore defense. As far as gear, obelisks, and ISO sets go for Carnage for Extreme Alliance Battle Supervillain Combat Day, you want to get the first gear to be all attack or physical attack after the first level, which is a %. then you want to go for all defense, then you want to go for HP, and then again you want to go for either skill cooldown or defense penetration, whichever one you need for the 4th gear. If you're lucky enough to have both of those maxed out already, then you want to go for something like crit damage. Again, in the details page, you want to make sure you have 36% or very close to 36% on reduced cooldown duration at the bottom right hand corner there. I can't really indicate it for you guys, but I'm sure you're familiar with it by now if you've watched all the other videos. And then you want to get ignore defense as close to 50 as possible. I'm working my way up to 50 because unfortunately my obelisk and my ISO set do not provide enough right now, so I'm trying to augment that. As you can see, thanks Mark for the dimension rift. As you can see, I'm trying to augment it with those purple Uru there, which are giving me an additional 150% defense penetration each. So I will slowly get close to the max with those and a few more changes. As far as the obelisk goes for Carnage, very much so like the other characters for Extreme Alliance Battle, you do need a damage proc. I was lucky enough to roll one here with crit rate as well. The recovery rate is not optimal. Obviously, if I had defense penetration here on this obelisk, then I could put Urus that had crit damage and I could get a higher overall score. Unfortunately, I do really like that 200% because that's the maximum score you can roll for the increased damage proc, so I really like that, and so I wanted to keep that. But ideally, you roll something with defense penetration or crit damage, and then also a damage proc for, you know, X increase for 1 times. That's pretty much standard on all Extreme Alliance Battle characters. As far as the skills, you don't need to max any of them, but if you want to max some of them, I would recommend maxing skills number 5, skills number 4, and skills number 3, because those are the 3 that you're going to be using in the rotation of 5, 4, 3 when you're using Carnage, as we'll talk about and show you just in a little bit when we actually do the run. As far as the ISO 8 set goes, you want to go with something that has either defense penetration or crit damage. You want to obviously go for an attacking set, as all the other Extreme Alliance Battle characters require, much like Doctor Strange, Odin, etc. It's either Overdrive, Power of Angry Hulk, or Hawk's Eye, depending on what you need the most. But you can get a attack speed buff from your team up with Carnage, Red Hulk, and Hulk. So keep that in mind, because you will get an additional, I believe it's 6% attack speed, so you don't want to go too high, because then Carnage will go through his animations too quickly if your attack speed is too high, and then you could end up getting silenced and messing up your score and ruining your run. So those are the gear setups, obelisks, and ISO sets for Carnage for Extreme Alliance Supervillain Combat Day. Let's go check out how he performs. So in this game mode, the Frost Beast does a silence effect, and the silence effect cannot be changed, or it cannot be resisted by any kind of obelisks. So you have to use a character like Carnage, because he has invincibility, so he can't be triggered during the invincibility, or you have to abuse the iframes of a character. Right at the beginning, after the first lunge, you want to switch during the second lunge, and that will allow you to safely switch to Carnage without the possibility of being silenced. After you've switched, it's a very straightforward rotation. I don't know why that one guy is all the way over there. But after you switched, it's a very straightforward rotation of Carnage's 5th skill to trigger that invincibility. As soon as that skill finishes the animations, you go into Carnage's 4th skill, and then you immediately iframe safely into Carnage's 3rd skill, so he cannot be silenced. There, I just happened to get silenced because, of course, when I'm recording a video, the game decides to fuck with me. But normally that does not happen, and it will affect my score, unfortunately, but I will be able to try again for a slightly higher score. My personal best on this day is 161,000. A lot of that has to do with my obelisk setup and the gears and how much defense penetration I've been able to stack on Carnage. But you can get a respectable score of at least 120,000, which with Carnage with a decent setup like this. But it's basically just this rotation of skills right here. There's not a lot to it. You just want to tap immediately into the 5th skill as soon as your 3rd skill iframe animation wears off, because that's the only time when you are vulnerable, is switching from the 3rd skill iframe into the 5th skill. And that's where, as you saw, I got silenced, and you can too. When you're silenced, if you don't know, you can't cast any of your skills. You can just run around and do basic attacks, so it's super crippling, not only to the character's survivability, but also to the character's DPS. So it's something that you want to avoid at all costs. Now, as far as optimizing this run, a couple things you can do. You can, in some way, guide Carnage when he's doing his 5th skill. It is pretty you know, rambunctious, and he does jump around a lot, but you can guide him a little bit, as you see I'm doing with the directional pad. You want to try and time it so that Carnage does his final burst of his 5th skill, which is the part where he jumps up right here. You want to time that to be close to the Frost Beast, and the reason why that is because you're going to get the AoE damage to the mobs anyways, and you might as well double dip and get some extra damage on the Frost Beast if you can. Additionally, if you are skillful enough at the game and you are good at counting, if you're a metronome, then you should try to time Carnage's 5th skill to trigger with your Obelisk proc, just like that. If you get it to trigger with your Obelisk proc, it will help your damage out a lot, and you can try to sync that up with the 7-second timer on the Obelisk proc. Thank you for the Dimension Rift. If you do have an Obelisk that's giving you a damage proc. Hopefully you do, because that is the ideal setup rotation in terms of gear for Carnage. But as you can see, this is not a very difficult day if you do have Carnage. He does make this day a little bit trivial, at least to score above 100,000. If all you're trying to do is get those max rewards for Extreme Alliance Battle, you can definitely do so comfortably with Carnage. As you can see there, my score is a lot well below my personal best, but that was because I got silenced and I lost a good 6 to 7 seconds worth of damage against the Frost Beast. So there you guys have it. Those are the tips for Extreme Alliance Battle Combat Day. That's what you can do to set up your self and set up your account to perform admirably on that day and get a high score. I know that Carnage is a pretty punishing character in terms of the requirements, so a lot of people do find this day difficult if they don't have Carnage. If you can honestly invest $10 in the biosub, or you know, grab a couple days of your remaining biosub and get Carnage and then use a mega rank up ticket and then use a tier 2 ticket later on, that's probably really important and really useful for Extreme Alliance Battle, but it is only one part of it. And Carnage is useful in a lot of other game modes, but it is tough to justify him for just one game mode. So hopefully these tips have been helpful, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video and it's helped you score higher on Extreme Alliance Battle Combat Supervillain Day. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.